No, better off. So it doesn't say poorer, but they will not be better off than we are.
Why increase productivity increase?
So basically what's happening is that what we see in the recent years is that as world GDP rises, so its production is rising, the demand for oil rises exponentially, so rises faster. Three key features are the low price elasticity of demand. That means that if the price of oil rises, it doesn't mean that we start to consume a lot less. Basically, the cost of oil is just increasing, and oil is in everything.
My simple question is GDP is growth every year, right?
Right.
Increasing. But how come productivity is not no growth?
Well, that's oil.
Oil price?
Right. The strong growth in demand from China and Middle East and other newly industrialized countries is also putting a strain on the oil price. And the failure of the global production to increase. These facts explain, like for example, we had the shale oil, but all the shale oil companies they're going belly up, right? Iran has Saudi Arabia decides to increase the production, keep the prices low, and all of these shale operations they cannot make enough money to sustain their business. So these facts explain that the initial strong pressure on prices may have triggered a commodity speculation in the first place. So if we see a GDP price, it's expected that the prices will rise. So we see GDP rise, then it's very likely that the oil price will rise. So with the rise in GDP, we see also speculation in oil. That also supports a high oil price.
It means last 5 years, America has got a lot of oil.
Right.
So they increase their GDP.
America, well, not that much. They increased their GDP, but not that much.
They just suddenly they got oil.
Well, no, actually, you mean shale oil?
Yeah.
Yeah, but shale oil cannot. To extract shale oil requires a global market price that is actually above the current global market price. So OPEC.
No, I'm talking about they are they're from the world number 3 countries for the shale oil production.
Yeah, but
Which
shale
means
oil.
even the price is low, but their amount of money is huge.
Yeah, but shale oil it cannot be extracted, and there's no valid business for shale oil if the price is below. I don't know exactly what the price is.
I know.
So the shale operation is
no,
basically.
I'm talking about current production rate level is one of the third level of the production there now.
Right, but then just regular crude.
Getting increased, so now it's very strong, So they're pushing GDP rise, right? How come America GDP so much big jump compared with China?
You mean they go up?
Yeah, you said the demand of oil rises, but actually America past 5 years almost zero to the world number 3 shale oil in production, right? Why it doesn't?
No, shale oil is not. The shale oil doesn't come from the ground.
What do you mean?
Well, shale oil. There was a lot of talk about shale oil, but at the current market prices, shale oil cannot be extracted.
What do you mean cannot be expected?
Because it's too expensive to take it from the ground. Well, basically, okay, if you want to start a shale oil operation, that basically that you can do that, but then if it costs $100 per barrel to extract shale oil, and the market price is below $100, then very soon it's just like any other business. You will run out of business because basically
you are talking about sales price and cost.
Right.
Okay. Okay, let's move.
So, okay. So these facts explain the initial strong pressure on prices that may have triggered commodity speculation in the first place. Speculation could have edged producers like Saudi Arabia into the discovery that small production declines could increase current revenues and may be in the long run interest as well. As the strong demand may have moved us into a regime in which scarcity rents, while negligible in 1997, became perceived and most important permanent factor in the price of petroleum. Basically, what we're going at is when you look at the price of oil. Why is this important? That's basically because the way that we are measuring GDP, the way that we are measuring production, is ignoring the price of our raw materials, the price of we're looking at labor and capital. But oil plays a very, very, very important role. Actually, Solov himself admitted that only about 20% of production growth can be explained by labor and capital. So there is a so-called solar residual, and it seems to indicate what we see here is that if you see what you see here is that basically with the rise of the price in oil in 2008, it peaked at about close to $107 per barrel. The GDP was high, oil price started to rise. Then with the rise of the oil price, we see the GDP decline, and the oil price also declined. Then when the oil price was down, the GDP started to climb up again, but together with the rise in the GDP, we see a rise in the oil price, which looks like every time the GDP rises, we see a rise in the oil price. So every time we manage to grow our GDP, we manage to grow our production, we manage to grow our production capacity, we need oil. Because everything that we do is based on oil. Not only the transportation, but also the machinery, the energy. Oil is used in a lot of the products that we're using. So a rise in the oil price will have a big impact on economic growth and put a brake on it. So why is the economy not really taking off with the new technology? It seems like oil is putting a brake on our potential to actually grow. So there is a thing. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? Is this the end of Western society? Is this the end of the second industrial revolution, where basically we are depending on the combustion engine and we are depending on oil to power our economy? Because it seems exactly that oil is also the brake on our economy. It's also the one that's stopping us from actually growing any further. So it looks like, looking at this graph, it looks like we are reaching some kind of end game regarding our the current era and the potential that technology has to actually grow the economy. So are we trapped? The data suggests that some of the increase in price of oil is attributed to the increase in demand for oil, and some of it by the desire of investors to diversify into physical commodities like oil. So it's some of it can be explained by the fact that GDP rises means that there is an increase in demand for oil, but it's also part of speculation. People put their money because they have seen that a rise in GDP will result in a rise in the price of oil. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So speculators are actually rising up the price further. Okay, so with much of the rest attributable to the expectation of future price and output increases likely to be engineered by quantitative easing. Basically, that is expected that we will, in order to offset this, governments will start to use the printing press and print more dollars, for example, in this case when we're talking about the United United States. So there will be inflation is to be expected. So the high oil price translates to higher costs for transportation, a lot of chemical products, which puts a brake on economic growth. According to Jeremy Rifkin, which is a political advisor for Europe and for China, we are approaching the end game of the fossil fuel economy and heading towards a third industrial revolution. Now, this is a long video, but it's a very, very, very interesting one. It's a very interesting.
Did you see?
Yes, yeah, I saw it. Not once. I saw it twice. It's not an easy one. One hour and 45 minutes. But it's a good one. And I suggest we look at it because I think what he described in this video is very plausible. It's also what's actually currently is being implemented in the European Union. So this is the way that the European Union is developing. This is also what China is doing at the moment. So this will become very important in the world in the near future.